Hi, this is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. We got a double header. This video is actually practical. It's based on the budget, something that's coming up again and again. People have some questions, comments, concerns, and I figured I'd clarify this one, but I'm going to make a series of videos on the roadmap proposals that are coming through to help people kind of wrap their mind around certain things that are happening right now. So let me share my screen. This is going to be a little whiteboard video. All right. Wow. So first off, right here, it says, Phil, you make excellent points. I actually think I wrote my thoughts out a bit too hasty. I was reading through the budget items and not liking anything related to partner chains or research for non Cardano things, proof of useful work, multi resource consensus, because I felt like it was using Cardano Treasury to pay for things that are not Cardano. So let's go ahead and open up the whiteboard and let's talk about it a little bit. Okay, straight from the horse's mouth. All right. So first and foremost, we have this thing called Ouroboros, and Ouroboros is a technological tour de force. It was the first provably secure proof of stake system. We conceived of it in 2015, and it really took to about 2017 to get the first iteration of it, and it started really getting good around 2020s. Okay. And the capstone of the first research generation of Ouroboros is Laos, which is the last mile in the single shard Ouroboros that we all know and love. And we anticipate this hitting post 2025. So I'll put 2025 plus. And it's hard to know exactly when, depends on how many resources we commit to it and what we discover during the prototyping. But basically, this is what's called a 1 minus delta protocol. So it's as fast as it gets for a single sharded protocol. So very, very fast. So pretty impressive, 10 years of hardcore work. But two big trends have been happening in the cryptocurrency space that are very important to factor in because the cryptocurrency space moves. So one of them is called multi-resource consensus. And this idea is that we want to have not just proof of stake, but we also want to have different algorithms running in parallel with proof of stake, whatever we want. So a few years ago, we created a protocol called Minotaur, and Minotaur basically created a generic framework for thinking around how multi-resource consensus would work. Because there's a natural question to ask of what happens after Laos? Where do we go? Well, if we moved in this particular direction, then what you could do is engineer Cardano to have multiple resources. And those resources could be selected based upon how the network is being used and what pools of resources you want to have available. Creates new revenue streams. More importantly, it actually makes the network more inclusive, meaning more people get to participate in consensus and more resilient. Because let's say that proof of stake can be attacked. US government buys all the ADA and 51% attacks us. Well, what about the hash power or something else? So when we look at things like proof of useful work, when we look at things like Minotaur, these types of things, what that's doing is it's building out the art of the possible. And that's typically what you do in R&D cycle. So we started the research of Ouroboros in 2015. Many of the ideas that we started with did not work their way into the protocol until the late 2019, 2020s. And it took more time after that to actually get the good stuff in. And we're just about to get the really good stuff. Laos, we started earnest research in that in 2020. Started with parallel chains and it worked its way through. And we had many setbacks and we were really trying hard to do that. So part of the budget's innovation and it's trying to understand how to do things like this. The second part is even more interesting. And this is how we make more money. It's called AVS. It's the latest and greatest MacGuffin of the cryptocurrency space. It's called actively validated services. And there are several of them. Carrick is one. You have Eigenlayer. eigen, like eigen values from linear algebra. You have eigenlayer. You have there's something like optimistic. I think that's from Paradigm. There's dozens of these services, but the basic idea is that we recognize that the POS of Cardano or whatever your system is pretty fucking secure. And the reality is that we could sell some of that security who need it to launch their network because it turns out it's really expensive to generate this level of security. It's a $25 billion price tag over two. It's the more nuance to it, but you get the idea. It's expensive. It's very expensive to build a network that has this level of security. So why can't we sell it? So AVS is that concept, and this is basically what partner chains is about. So what you do is you say, hang on a second here. Let's create a system. We have a dual token model, and one token lives as a Cardano native asset on Cardano, and there's a smart contract. And then the other token, that's going to live as a native asset on a separate ledger. Okay. And then the rewards, the value carrier here, and perhaps even here, are paid to who's securing it here. So basically, this research and partner chains is about turning Cardano into a universal AVS layer like Carrick is. And the value proposition of that is in the tens of billions of dollars. In fact, give you guys a sense of how valuable this could be. Oops. Give you guys a sense of how valuable this could be. Let me go ahead and bring this up for you. So the value proposition here, let me find it for you. Do Carrick blockchain. Go here. We can take a look at all the partners these guys have, and all these guys have crazy partners. So when we scroll down here, we see CUDA, the Carrick Universal Data Availability, Wormhole, Space and Time, and look how many investors they have: Coinbase, Mumdala, Lightspeed, BCV, Pantera, DCG, Naval Ravikant, Joe Lau, Proof Group, all this stuff. And this is one of dozens of these networks that are floating around. Okay. So this is Carrick, and there's dozens of these AVS systems that are here. We have the most secure, in my opinion, proof of stake protocols in the entire ecosystem. Partner chains research opens this up for us to basically sell it to other people. The stake pool operators get multiple revenue streams as a result of that. They can convert those tokens back into ADA, or they can keep them in their own right. And the Cardano treasury can also get them if it's appropriately designed. So that's what the research about this is about, is turning Cardano into an AVS system and also giving Ouroboros the next generation, the Omega generation, which basically we look at Cardano as a multi-resource system for more inclusivity and resilience inside the consensus model. So we move beyond just the assumptions of proof of stake. So I figured I'd make a quick video and talk to you guys about that because, I think there's a lot of misconceptions that people have, and there's a lot of complaints that people have. And I appreciate what you're trying to do. I do. I appreciate you're trying to understand why we're proposing things. But it's fair for people to take a time out before they immediately judge something to look at the facts on the table. The industry is moving towards AVSs, as evident by the amount of investment and growth and money that's going into them. And we have an untapped resource that we can sell to all blockchains that's incredibly valuable. And where there's a path to include Bitcoin and Cardano in that story as an AVS and let people stake Bitcoin and make quite a bit of money from that. That's a humongous competitive advantage that Cardano has. And multi-resource consensus is the future. Being able to layer multiple consensus algorithms together and put all these things together is super cool because not only do you get the most resilient network, it's really hard to shut down. You can start aggregating many different resources, like a useful work, for example, that could be used for AI or social media or whatever have you. It's pretty cool when you think about it. So the budget includes items to initiate research and protocols to push us in this direction. Now, you may not believe that's Cardano, and that's perfectly fine. But then the question is, does Cardano have so much of a network effect like Bitcoin that it can afford to stagnate? And do we not sell what we have? Selling our consensus services means that we're monetizing an asset we already own. It's not a hypothetical like, should we go buy this or not? We already own it. Should we sell it? And the stake pool operators would then make more money, and the ADA holders would make more money because it basically ADA holders get rewards too from the AVS service. That's the idea. That's what the research is doing. You may believe that that's not a good idea. That's all right. But at the end of the day, it's like, what do we do with it? We just ignore it. Okay. And it's the same for multi-resource consensus. It allows more people to participate in securing the network in different ways of securing, including a proof of human, perhaps, which creates different voting systems for Cardano. So you move beyond one token, one vote to potentially other things as well, and balancing it out creates a more resilient system. Makes Cardano easier to adopt in certain places. So is that something you want? If not, okay, it could be removed. Are you happy with Ouroboros the way it is, and you want no changes whatsoever, and you just wanna leave it? After Genesis is a fully stable system, could run forever, just like Nakamoto proof of work. Maybe it is. Do we have the network effect to justify that, or do you wanna 10x the network and 100x the network? So as you're thinking through the budget, you're thinking through the roadmap, these are some of the questions you need to ask yourself. You have to take a step back and say, does it make sense to try to do these things, and what are we chasing with that? Throughout this month, I'm gonna be talking a lot about the roadmap, and I'm gonna be talking a lot about some of the things we've been thinking about of why these things are there inside the roadmap, and ultimately, the D reps are gonna have to decide, do they like this or not? And do they think it's a reasonable idea or not? And that's reflected by the budget priorities. But I figured I'd share this with you guys because it's just, food for thought. Anyway, good night. Thank you much.